Hello, my name's Michael Conneely, and this is my video about the astrology of August 2020. And basically, there are a lot of difficult and complicated and changing astrological energies in August, which it's so well worth hearing about and understanding, and building on that, working out what we do about them, how we heal, how we empower, how we bring higher consciousness to them. And in some ways, August might feel like the lull between two storms. So although it's turbulent and changeable and huge in itself, it is the lull between two storms because we had the onslaught of the coronavirus earlier in 2020, and affecting the United States in particular. There's going to be a lot of trouble and difficulty in November and particularly December and onwards, centering really on the 14th of December eclipse, which is right on Donald Trump's moon Ketu. So, and the hinge point of his Kalsarpa Yoga. So do see my earlier video and blog about what that eclipse will do for Donald Trump's mental stability and for the United States. So in fact, many of the planets are in such difficult and changing energies in August 2020 that it offers a fierce challenge to keep stable and spiritual. And it would be bewildering and confusing if I went into the needed detail for each of these in this video, in this blog, which is the August 2020 overall summary. So basically, I'm bringing out a series of follow-up videos in the first and early second week of August, which give more explanation on the big energies and more suggestions about how we can reap the benefit out of them, how we can handle them for our healing and empowerment, how we can bring more spiritual awareness to them. It is worth hearing and understanding these complicated changing energies in August, as it's always so worthwhile knowing what the astrological energies of any given time are. And so, as I've written in the associated blog, I believe that when astrology is well done, and I combine Vedic and also Western psychodynamic and evolutionary astrology, then such astrology can make a magnificent declaration as to our fate, our destiny, our incarnational life purpose, and also our emotionally based and egoic personality for this incarnation. But I want to go on to say that the only real value of having such a well-worked declaration, a supreme declaration, is if we can utilize it. If we can become able to observe and modify our behavior and our scripts and our destiny patterns better. Above all, if we can use the skilled astrological insight to rise above the egoic definition of ourself and the socially imposed definition of who we are and the family imposed definition of who we are. In other words, what we actually need to do is to utilize that so valuable declaration to develop our connective union to the divine. to bring in a consciousness shift. And if we can do that, we will help others. And one point that I feel quite strongly about is learning the divine nature of each planet will help us greatly. In this life, and it's part of our destiny, we usually start seeing each planet's divine nature in a distorted way, seeing the divine nature of a planet through filters of sign, house and aspect in Western astrology, and in a whole range more of filters, the methods of Vedic astrology. So we need to utilize our difficult experience of planet energies so as to go through that, to perceive the divine nature of each planet. And when you do courses with me or have a reading with me, I very much seek to bring in that awareness of the divine nature of each planet. And this way, we can burn our negative karmas that we came to work with in this life, which Vedic astrology so powerfully and magnificently declares, particularly when you bring in the nakshatras, for example, but many more branches, and which psychodynamic and evolutionary Western astrology adds such a necessary extra dimension to. So this way, with this sort of declaration, the value of it is, yes, we can better burn our negative karmas. We can better maximize the special skills and talents which astrological analysis can point to at the obvious level in our chart and at subtle levels. So the real point of developing your astrological awareness and knowing what the planetary energies in your birth chart are, and in now the present time, is so as to be able to raise your consciousness and move to the position of being healed and empowered, and thus able to embody more and more of the divine consciousness in an attitude of love and forgiveness and positivity, fully able to realize the very different, huge gifts that each planet energy has. And certainly what we need to do at this time, indeed to make sense of this lull period of August, September, October, and then the coming crisis, which will certainly hit the United States, is to look at what is the message to me of this lockdown. Really try and, see what comes to mind and write it down. I did a shamanic journey on Saturday, a week ago, which was tremendous inspiration, going much deeper than that, but made possible because of the more relative quiet and composure that lockdown has offered me. And I feel like I've seen the importance of, a more self-contained way of life, of honouring, like our little former farm here near the Atlantic coast in the west of Ireland, and of going deeper and deeper into astrology, but also the other things I teach, like the runes and the Norse gods, the Ogham, the tree alphabet of the ancient Irish Druids, and the ancient Irish gods. I'm learning stuff deeper about geomancy and land energies, which I will offer more fully when my Sacred West of Ireland tours resume. I've closed them at the moment because social distancing is advised by the Irish government, and I do believe the Irish government has done so very well in protecting its population from coronavirus impact. And, you know, I want to support that fully and indeed protect myself and my family. Okay, so we'll now turn more to the details of August astrology and healing. And as I said, there's going to be more videos and blogs put out in the early part of the unfoldment of August, such as Mercury in a mess, Mars dangerous in August, the Saturn-Pluto conjunction, the Saturn-Jupiter conjunction, the Jupiter-Pluto conjunction, a really big one. What divine learning is there in Saturn retrograde? That's so important. So let's launch into this fairly detailed August summary, but knowing that certain topics are going to have a much more detailed presentation very shortly in video and blog from me, to honour the vastness and importance of all these different huge energies that are going on and changing indeed so much through the month of August. So let's start with the Sun. So the Sun starts August at 15 Vedic Cancer. Now, if you look on my Star Wheel Astrology website and go to the page for August, you will see the ephemeris for the planet positions in August in Vedic Astrology and then in Western Astrology. You'll see the chart for the start position of the planets in Vedic and Western astrology, and for the lunations, the full and new moon. And, you know, I provide this service in every month. There's a page on my website for every month of 2020. So you can look up what in the Vedic and Western astrology degree equivalences are. So basically, Sun starts August at 15 degrees Vedic Cancer, but transits into Leo, into Vedic Leo, sidereal Leo, on the 16th of August, ending the month at 13 degrees Vedic Leo. And notice in the middle of the month, when the Sun is transitioning from Vedic Cancer to Vedic Leo, it goes through the immaterial Gandanta zone. There are 3 Gandanta zones in Vedic astrology that are the transition from water sign to fire sign. And the actual 0 point, the sign change point, is the point where water finally dissolves, and across the void is the first flicker of fire. To have a planet in one of these Gandanta zones is potentially incredibly inspirational. But these Gandanta zones are not good for the things of this world. They can be meltdown, they can be turbulent. And the Sun goes through this Gandanta zone, centering on the 16th of August. And Sun starts August receiving a square aspect from Uranus. There's more about Uranus later on in this summary. What does this energy offer us? Well, positively, it's revolution, it's reformation. So spend time to tune in to the Sun-Uranus energy that we are being so blessed. What is there in your life, your love, your work, your family that needs that twist of reformation and revolution? How can you bring this about? As I said, I did a shamanic journey and I was so impressed at the deep understanding of my life that came through, and the tremendous guidance for my future remaining years that came through, and the changes I have to bring in now to realize my future destiny. And it's also worth noting that there is a fire trine energy in August. So you have the Sun entering Leo, Mars entering Aries, and Jupiter already in Sagittarius. And each sign in this Grand Trine is actually further enhanced because it is its ruler that is transiting the sign. Sun in Leo, Mars in Aries, Jupiter in Sagittarius. This is good if you have planets there. The energy is good anyway. You know, please do try and recognize it. Try and tune into it. Now do note that as the Sun enters Leo on the 16th of August and Mars enters Aries, Uranus turns retrograde. And so when a planet turns retrograde, that's an increasingly strong call for each of us to consolidate the energy of the planet. So in the case of Uranus turning retrograde, it's a call for each of us to identify and consolidate the revolution we are riding and need to bring in. In fact, there are strong signs, planet in signs placements anyway in August, because yes, we have Sun transiting Leo, Mars transiting Aries, Jupiter in his own sign Sagittarius, but also Rahu is exalted in Gemini. Saturn is super strong in Capricorn. There's a magnificence in Vedic astrology whereby you can measure planetary strengths in your birth chart and day by day using Shadasha Varga tables, using planet dignity tables, using planet friendship and exaltation and debilitation. I teach all these in my Master Vedic Astrology Vedic Foundation course, and as with all my astrology courses, you're very welcome to cross between Western and Vedic astrology, as that helps the depth and power and breadth of your declaration. It can lead to such wisdom being expressed by you in your student write-ups on each of your planets and my planets, which is how the course works. See my Master Vedic Astrology website, mastervedicastrology.com. So moving on to the moon, well, there's a full moon in Capricorn on the 3rd of August. Sun is at 17 Cancer, Moon is at 17 Capricorn in Shravana Nakshatra. And very important to note, this full moon is T-square Uranus, and Uranus is at 16 Aries. What a wonderful revolutionary full moon. Even though Saturn in Capricorn can be repressive and depressive, it can be used in a consolidating way. So beware letting the depression take hold. Utilize the revolution. Ground it. Secondly, for lunations, there's the new moon on the 19th of August. So Sun and Moon are at 2 Vedic Leo in Magha Nakshatra. And it's actually an explosive and turbulent new moon with Moon, Sun and Mercury all in Magha Nakshatra ruled by Ketu. Interesting energies. And see the charts for these full and new moons at the foot of my Star Wheel Astrology August webpage. Okay, let's move on to Mercury. Well, Mercury is in a mess, or rather our reception of the divine energies of Mercury is in a mess from the very start of August. So it starts with a fierce and combative square to Mars, and this is the third square to Mars in a month. And there's been so much arguing and indeed rioting, combative speech. For goodness sake, let us notice when there's an aggressive or vicious Mars tinge entering our communication and call a halt and calm down. Very important also in use of social media. There's been such a lot of angry use of social media. And really it's not a sensible use of the angry astrological energy. And the next day, Mercury enters Vedic Cancer. And Mercury does not really do well in Vedic Cancer. It's compromised. The Mercury communication and rationality principles are compromised by emotionalism from Cancer, clinging to hurts, hypersensitivity, and a distortion due to too much security consciousness and limitations and tensions from that. And this, of course, will particularly affect Cancer people, Cancer, Lagna, Sun, Moon especially, in their birth chart. And there's an opposition to Mercury from the Jupiter-Pluto-Saturn conjunction across the chart on the borders of Capricorn and Sagittarius.